match of the Australia International Championship of earlier this year.
Yeah, that's right. Both these players faced off in the Oceania Internationals. And of course, Connor was able to take that championship. And Magnus was bringing a very interesting deck then. He's bringing a very interesting deck now.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Connor Pedersen is incredibly accomplished for his young age. He, of course, we see how he's the first place champion in Oceania Internationals, but he's also top 8 at Worlds. And if you see at the very bottom, he's gotten second place at Worlds before in the senior division. We actually have featured him on stage a couple of years ago, losing to Jesper Eriksson in an exciting finals match.
Yep, and we're going to see him playing that Buzzwole Garbodor deck, except using Trashalanche as an attacker instead of focusing on Garbotoxin as an ability lock.
Yeah, and of course, we have Magnus Pedersen, his opponent, who did lose to him in Oceania Internationals, but he's looking to get his revenge right here. And of course, Magnus Pedersen, no slouch himself when it comes to accomplishments, having taken second place at that Oceania Internationals that we mentioned, and also getting top 8 the year before in not only that Internationals, but at Liverpool Regionals as well.
Yep, and look, a little throwback. The Bayonet GX, very reminiscent of the Bayonet EX that won World Championships 10 years ago, 11 years ago.
Yeah,
11. 2007. So maybe could see a little bit of history repeating itself here.
Yeah, it's actually basically the same card, just a little bit better, right? In almost every aspect.
Yep.
And the thing is, it's an extremely good matchup against Connor's deck. It seems like Magnus is well positioned to put himself in as the champion this year. And of course, we are starting to see the prizes start to get laid out for both these players.
Yep, and we see the one of Beast Energy Prism Star top of the prize card, so Connor may not be able to see that the entire game.
And now Magnus has a Rainbow Energy and, well, a Trashalanche Garbodor, which he doesn't play too many of, but besides that, I'm okay with his prizes.
Yeah, not too bad. He'll be able to work through those pretty well, it looks like.
All right, these players are set to begin, wasting no time here as we are about to get Game 1 going in this Senior Division World Championship final match. The handshake occurs, which means we are set to draw our very first card of this match. And it is going to be Connor Pedersen starting things off here. And of course, he gets his Brooklet Hill into play, plays a Floatstone onto his active Trubbish with a Trubbish on the bench, and plays a Cynthia. Right away, he wants to start getting some basic Pokemon in play and get an energy into play before he gets to pass the turn to Magnus.
That's right. He opened with the Brooklet Hill, chose not to use it yet. He's going to use Cynthia first, see if he can draw into at least one of those basic Pokemon that he wants, and then use Brooklet Hill afterwards. This just gives him the maximum chances of hitting multiple Pokemon that can help him out in this scenario. Most likely trying to hit a Remoraid and an attacker here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Remoraid is incredibly important for the longevity of this match, but of course you want to also get an attacker going. And there's that Remoraid right in his hand, so he's not going to have to Brooklet Hill for that, which means he's going to be able to Brooklet Hill for an attacker, likely a Buzzwole there.
Yep, in combination with that Ultra Ball in his hand, he will be able to get a pretty quick Octillery into play. However, he's staring down a Wobbuffet on the other side of the board, so maybe not going to get to use that ability for a little bit.
Yeah, Wobbuffet incredibly powerful against these ability-based draw engines. And we do see a Regirock actually become the Pokemon of choice for Connor here.
Yeah, Regirock can sometimes be a better Buzzwole. It just can do a little more damage if you have a Pokemon tool attached. So we've seen a lot of players choose to use this Pokemon as an attacker, mainly against Zoroark, but it can get some pretty quick damage down on opening turns.
And we see Connor play that Remoraid from his hand onto his bench, and now he's going to be retreating this Trubbish with a Floatstone on it. So he can promote the Regirock before passing his turn. No energy in play here for Connor, but besides that, at least he's got his basic Pokemon that he wants to have in play. And now it's on Magnus to start things off for his first turn. Will Magnus be able to get a powerful setup going here? Remember, Magnus plays many evolution lines and basic attackers, so he definitely wants to start filling his bench up as well.
Yeah, it looks like he's not going to get to take too much advantage of this hand. He does have Ultra Ball, but it looks like he's going to have to lose at least one of his Rainbow Energies. It's a pretty important card for him. It allows him to hit different types of attacks as well as get a little bit of damage onto the board to help fuel his Bayonet. If he can start to use a Shady Move early in the game, he can set up knockouts that maybe Connor isn't expecting.
Magnus is looking through his deck, trying to see exactly what's prized. Likely going to find out that one of his Trashalanche Garbodors is prized, so he's going to have to spend his resources a little bit more wisely when it comes to these Trubbish and Garbodors. And Tapu Lele will be finding him Bridget, which will find him a couple of Shuppets and another Trubbish. That's about as good a setup as you can ask for if you're Magnus.
Yep, of course, Bide Barricade is in play, but that Tapu Lele is a psychic Pokemon, so going to sneak by that, get to use that opening turn Bridget, and got a pretty nice setup here. Double Trubbish, double Shuppet.
How convenient. All right, so with the double Trubbish, double Shuppet, and a Wobbuffet in the active position, he's pretty much set up to start evolving his Pokemon and attacking early on. Here is Magnus. Of course, he plays a Rainbow Energy onto his Shuppet, wants to evolve it into that Bayonet GX and start really taking advantage of that weakness that he has against the majority of Connor's deck. Of course, Regirock, one of the few Pokemon that will not have that weakness against Bayonet in this matchup.
Yep. Wow, Connor here, he has to discard 2 of his recovery tools. He's going to lose Rescue Stretcher, which can potentially bring back 3 Pokemon, and those special charge that can bring back 2 of those special energy cards, which he plays a lot of.
Which does tell us that Connor's late game is going to be quite a bit weaker than he's used to having. But sometimes you have to make these sacrifices in order to really start taking advantage of the early game. If you don't, then it doesn't matter how much recovery you have. You're just not going to have the early game pressure that you're going to need. And he does get the artillery with his Ultra Ball. Does he have a Guzma or something to get that Wobbuffet out of the active position there?
Yeah, not sure just yet. Looks like he does have a Float Stone, but may just have to use Sycamore here, and he does.
So he is forced to use the Sycamore, drawing 7 new cards, discarding the remainder of his hand, but at least he's going to have more resources available to him. Still no energy in play for Connor, and it is midway through his second turn.
Also, remember that Magnus is going to be keeping an eye on the amount of item cards that are being played by Connor. A lot have already hit the discard pile. I believe we're at least at 4 now. So that's going to start to fuel Trash Avalanche, and when that number gets higher and higher, that means more knockouts are going to start coming his way.
Yeah, and at the same time, Magnus, every turn, gets to start playing these supporter cards into his own discard pile, which is going to start fueling his own attacks with that Bayonet GX. So every turn that progresses, Magnus's deck just keeps stronger and stronger.
Yep. We do see Brooklet Hill. It's going to take another Pokemon, and I don't think that Connor has too much else going this turn. May be able to get an attack off into this Wobbuffet, but...
I believe I saw strong energy in his hand.
Yep. Floatstone is going to provide that little bit of extra damage that he wants. That's pretty important.
Just how he drew it up.
Yes.
40 damage from the Regirock. Actually 60 because of that strong energy.
Good old enhanced stomp.
It's no sledgehammer, but it'll do right now, as 60 damage does go onto that Wobbuffet before Magnus gets to start his turn.
It's actually better than Sledgehammer right now.
Yeah, he's got big feet. Now, Magnus plays another Rainbow Energy onto the second Shuppet. And, I mean, it feels like his turn is going to be pretty easy, right? He's got that Sycamore, which he does play down, and that's going to let him draw 7 new cards. Now, at this point, he just wants to start evolving his Pokemon. If he can get a Garbodor into play with a tool on it, even better. Stop that artillery from ever really being able to do anything. And really put Magnus in a commanding position here.
Yep, looks like he found a Bayonet GX. He also has a couple more basic Pokemon that can help him out in certain scenarios. If there are no more fighting Pokemon in play, he may feel comfortable using that Drampa, but he does have that Jirachi with Stardust that can come into play as well, too. There's a lot of special energy cards over on Connor's side. Yeah,
keep in mind that Field Blower got rid of 2 tools, which actually just keeps fueling that Trash Lunch more and more. So now, Magnus kind of doing nothing else.
Yeah, he did stop Connor from having a knockout here. The Enhanced Stomp is only going to do 40 damage unless Connor decides to attach another energy, the strong energy to it, or find another tool. It's a bit of an awkward spot. Do you want to start to commit energies to this Regirock? You could potentially get knocked out in the coming turn just because of how many items you've already played.
Yeah, now Connor's still debating over his options, still going to be able to play use his Brooklet Hill. He's getting quite a bit of mileage out of that Stadium card here. And he gets to keep looking through his deck. At this point, I'd be very surprised if he just doesn't know what the majority of his prizes are right now, which does give him quite a bit of information as the game progresses. And he finds a Sudowoodo, another attacker that is just not weak to these psychic Pokemon from Magnus. He's looking for an avenue of attack that does not require him to just get easy knockouts from his opponent.
Yeah, he does have Roadblock, but there is a Wobbuffet there.
All right. Connor still looking over his options. Decides to play the Shrine.
Yep, Shrine of Punishment, it's actually a way to put more damage onto these Bayonet. We've actually seen some of these Bayonet GX decks using the Shrine of Punishment in their deck so that they can actually damage themselves and then start to apply this damage to their opponent by moving those damage counters over. So yeah, the judges were able to spot that. Roadblock is in play, so this Wobbuffet is going to, the Bide Barricade is in play. Roadblock is stopping that. But we could see an interaction. I'm actually not sure how it works, where if you knock out the Wobbuffet, then does the discard happen, or do you promote? I think, actually, I don't even want to put it out there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure either. So
We'll let the judges do that. I don't play this Roadblock card too often.
Guess we'll find out together. But yeah, they're still trying to figure out exactly how to go about this turn, are the judges. Now, because Connor's been unable to play use his ability on Octillery, and he's been unable to really get any type of pressure going, does this favor Magnus quite a bit, or is Connor in the aggressive position?
It honestly just depends on what Magnus's hand is. I think that Connor's put himself in an okay spot with the Regirock here, but if Magnus has a knockout on this Regirock, then I have to feel that Magnus is definitely favored from this spot forward.
Yep. I would have to agree with you there. Now, the Pseudo-Wudo, when it came down for Roadblock purposes, I believe that Connor just kind of forgot about the Bide Barricade there from the Wobbuffet. It's the only reason that I can see him going for the Pseudo-Wudo right away. Aside from that, obviously, he could have just been planning ahead, just going like, well, I'll eventually knock out that Wobbuffet, and when I do, then that's when my Roadblock will take effect, and it'll stop Magnus from furthering his board development.
Yeah.
So I can see both strategies really working out there for Connor.
The two Pokemon that he was debating between were the Sudowoodo and the Diancie Prism Star, which could also amplify damage, but of course both of those would be turned off here with the Wobbuffet. So just looking to turn ahead, trying to get himself in a good position. If Magnus doesn't have as many options as him, giving him one less bench space, maybe that's going to be beneficial towards Connor's board.
Now, we do have a Cynthia here from Connor before he decides to knock out that Wobbuffet.
All right, let's learn how this interaction works. I'm curious.
Looks like you get to promote first.
All right.
All right.
Like, whoa, take that extra 10. Trying to punishment is putting in work, if it's only one GX, but it's going to start applying a little bit of damage here for sure.
It's more like tickling them right now. I wouldn't really call that punishment yet.
Yeah, nine turns of that, and you're in trouble.
Sure. 9 turns later. Okay. Professor Sycamore here, as Magnus really starting to look for his evolutions. He found one Bayonet GX before playing that Sycamore. But remember, these two Trubbish still not doing quite a bit of anything yet. And you have to believe that Connor's discard pile has, I'd say probably at least like 5 or so item cards.
Yeah, I think he's worked through a pretty good amount here. We do see Mysterious Treasure. That's going to be able to grab himself one of those Trashalanch Garbodor, and he'll be able to get that into play, do a little bit of damage here, maybe even a knockout. We'll get that information soon. But I think the most important card in his hand here is the Parallel City. He's going to be able to remove the Shrine of Punishment, taking all that potential damage that would have been building up from that stadium away. And he gets to limit Connor's bench, which Connor has a lot of cards that he wants to keep on that board. He'd have to make a pretty difficult decision after removing the Sudowoodo, of course.
Well, looks like his decision doesn't seem too hard to him, as he probably just wants to get rid of that Buzzwole, thinks it's too much of a liability, and he has plenty of them. I really like keeping the Trubbish and the Garbodor here, and of course, Octillery will be able to draw you some cards eventually, right?
You would hope so. And right now is a turn that he will be able to get some use out of it.
Well, we found out how much damage Trashalanch is going to do, and that's 120 or more.
Enough, yeah.
So there it is, a big prize here by Magnus, as Connor does lose his Regirock with double strong energy on it. And now Connor forced to just promote his Trubbish, evolve it into a Garbodor, and play a Rainbow Energy so that he can return the knockout, hopefully. I have to believe that that Magnus has played enough item cards.
Yeah, Magnus had a pretty amazing turn there. He went and dropped Connor's side of the board from 6 Pokemon down to 3. And Connor's just like, whoa, I thought I was doing okay. What just happened here?
Yeah, the power of Parallel City sometimes, you know? It's just such a strong stadium. It not only got rid of the Shrine of Punishment, but it also limited Connor's bench space and it, in turn, of course, his options.
Yep, well, Connor is able to refill this turn. He has enough basic Pokemon, but expect him to start to run into trouble if we see another Parallel City in the coming turns because he has already lost that Rescue Stretcher, and we've seen a few basic Pokemon already hitting the discard pile.
Connor's next few turns are pretty set in stone, but what I'm trying to figure out is, do they match up well against the Bayonet when it starts to attack?
Yeah.
It feels like enough turns have passed for Magnus to where he's got enough supporter cards in his discard pile, and this is really where Magnus's deck starts to take off, right? This is where Magnus really starts to show why he feels favored in this matchup, and that's because of that weakness advantage from that Bayonet against these Garbodors. He's just got to limit the number of item cards in his discard pile. As long as he can do that, then he could be in very, very good shape just running Connor out of attackers. But Connor's done a good job of playing enough Trubbish on his side of the field to where he's threatening enough attackers to potentially take this game.
Yep. I'm curious to see how Magnus starts to move around these damage counters with Shady Move. When he gets multiple Bayonet into play, he might start using Float Stone and swapping between the two, starting to push the damage counters around. Does he start to push them all onto a Trubbish and maybe just end up making his own knockout over the course of a few turns, or is he going to start to use it to chip away at a different Pokemon? I'm not sure if he needs it to match any damage numbers. He's going to be hitting for knockouts almost every turn now, just because every Pokemon Connor has now is weak to Psychic.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing a lot of fast and furious action out of Magnus from here on out, as he's just got very easy knockouts for pretty much the remainder of the game here. And Connor's going to be the one struggling to keep up. He's going to have to find Crash Lynch. He's going to have to find energies to be able to power up this Garbodor. Meanwhile, this Bayonet's going to be able to get a couple of knockouts on its own. And of course, he's got the backup Garbodors of his own, also playing Garbodor as well as Connor.
It looks like Magnus was holding on to a potential way to get the Garbotoxin Garbodor into play. I think he wants to just wait a little bit longer and try to combine that with an N. And if he's able to lock Connor out of all of his abilities and have him on a low hand size, there's just no way that Connor's going to be able to retaliate against this Bayonet.
You see how Shady Move really is kind of irrelevant in this matchup. It's just like, well, sure, I'll give you or
it's cute.
Trubbish a little more damage. Why not? But still, I mean, Bayonet is just such a powerful card in this matchup. I remember seeing a lot of players when they got paired up against this Bayonet and they were playing the Buzzwole Garbodor deck, they were just shaking their head going, well, okay, yeah. I had a good run.
Yeah, this card was basically introduced into this format strictly because of this style of deck. A lot of players decided to go about this route in the Masters division. Ryan Sablehouse and Rahul Reddy both jumped on that boat, along with the Szymanski brothers, who were able to see some success in that division.
Yeah, of course. Great players on their own right, as well as Magnus Pedersen here. Of course, Magnus is definitely favored on board right now to win this game, but just about anything can happen. Connor still has plenty of options available to him. He's just got to find the right cards, and he's got to keep finding them in sequence for the remainder of this game.
Yeah, I guess the big thing going on this turn is there's potential for Sledgehammer. We're going to look to see what Connor's able to find off of his Octillery. If he can draw into the right cards, maybe he can score a knockout. Sledgehammer would be hitting for 120 damage, but then, of course, you have amplifiers such as Strong Energy, Deancey, Choice Band, which could reach that 190.
Yeah, we know that Beast Energy is prized for him, so that's going to be a big damage amplifier that he's just not going to have access to, but he does have things like Strong Energy and, of course, the other cards that you mentioned. So he could theoretically get to a really, really high number, but will it be enough, and will he find the additional cards he's going to need with it? Looks like he's filling his bench with a second Buzzwole here. He does have that Diancie in place, so He's already dealing 140. There's a choice band, which brings him up to 170.
I think the problem is just going to be that Bayonet has resistance. He's going to have to hit for 210 damage if he wants to get through this Bayonet. And
he found the strong energy too, man.
He's hitting for a lot, but I don't know. I don't think he's going to get there.
Well, he's hitting for 190 base, which would be enough if it weren't for that pesky resistance, right?
I mean, I think you have to cash in right now. This is the turn to do it. He's going to be able to use Sledgehammer here, and Magnus is going to have to grab 4 dice in order to handle the amount of damage we have here.
It is going to be 170 damage total.
Oh, back to 1 at year. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I quadruple checked my math, but I can still be wrong.
Yep. With the resistance there, it's going to go back down. So 170 on the Bayonet. Of course, Magnus has options with Shady Move. He can start to move some of these damage counters away.
How sick do you feel when you're in Connor's seat there, getting all these different tools to actually fall into your lap when you need it the most, and then it's still not enough?
Yeah, I mean, he's doing as much as he can right now, but the problem is when his deck doesn't take one-hit knockouts, it's very awkward for him because he doesn't have ways to just do that chip damage. You're not going to see a card like Buzzwole GX using Jet Punch and getting knockouts from the bench or something like that. This Bayonet, when it takes the damage, he's going to try to just move it around and go hide, and you're going to have a Guzma in order to take this knockout.
All right, so now an Ultra Ball here out of Magnus. What kind of a response is Magnus going to have here? Is he going to be able to have his Bayonet kind of run and hide like you said? Is he going to start to slowly Shady Move away the damage from it and hope that that's going to be enough to keep it from getting knocked out for the remainder of this game? Truth be told, I'm not exactly sure, but I do like the strategy of just starting to attack with the second Bayonet right now.
Yep, when this Bayonet does come down into play, I think the most important part is going to be how many item cards are in Magnus's discard pile here. The only real answer that Connor has to start attacking back into it is with Trashalanche. So he probably wants to make sure that the Bayonet that is attacking is going to have the least amount of damage on it.
Well, so I'm going to tickle the other Trubbish, as now that Trubbish gets 10 damage on it because of Shady Move on that Bayonet before it retreats. And now he is discarding that Rainbow Energy to retreat onto the undamaged or almost undamaged Bayonet there.
It'll probably be undamaged by the end of this turn.
Now.
Oh, look at this. Magnus actually attaching Psychic Energy to his Tapu Lele. He might be setting up to use his GX move there. And he could Tapu Cure in the following turns if this Bayonet takes a lot of damage but not a knockout.
That would be very interesting right there. Just keeping his options open is Magnus, but he is going to Shady Move before he Shadow Chance. I would just put it on the Diancie, I think. Just, spread it out. Why not?
I would put it on Trubbish, but I'm wild. Maybe he needs this amount of damage. I don't know. He's just, all right, it's a knockout, whatever.
He doesn't care. He knows it's pretty much irrelevant. And Magnus, I really, really want to know how many items are in Magnus's discard pile.
Yep, I'm sure we'll get that answer soon when the Garbodor does get promoted. Connor doesn't have any other choice rather than attacking in anyways. He needs to get damage onto Magnus' side of the board and start to get something going here.
Both players' discard piles are just so relevant in this matchup, as Trashalanche is just the most powerful attack you can have at the end of the game here for both players. Magnus down to 3 prizes. Connor only has 4 remaining of his own, but Connor does have a very, very vulnerable target in Magnus's heavily damaged Bayonet on the bench. It's hiding as much as it can, but sometimes Guzma just finds you.
Yep. And Connor does have that Guzma available to him, so he will be able to target down that Bayonet with all the damage if he chooses.
Why wouldn't you choose to? I think you have to, right?
I would choose. Just got to leave his options open. Could go in, could go wild, attack the active.
All right, he does find that Guzma, which finds the Bayonet and lets Octillery run away, promoting the Buzzwole. Finding himself a few more cards because of Octillery's Abyssal Hand. Now plays the Rainbow Energy onto the Buzzwole, knocks out knocks out the Bayonet with Buzzwole Sledgehammer. Kind of, I really like that strategy because it makes it so that your opponent, without a Guzma, has to get rid of your Buzzwole, which is just not your most dangerous Pokemon right now.
Yep.
Of course, you want to try to save your Garbodors as much as possible, especially when you just don't have access to very many of them.
Connor had a big nod to how much he believes the Trash Lance is going to win him the game here. When he used Abyssal Hand, he actually held onto a Rainbow Energy. He was trying to find any other energy that he could attach so that he could hold a Rainbow Energy to use Trash Lance on the following turn to get his last 2 prizes, potentially. And now this is the turn that Magnus probably needs to start to lock out the game here. If he can get Garbotoxin into play, potentially with an N, then he could be in a very fantastic spot to lock out Connor. Not only does he need to find a Pokemon to attack with, he needs the energy, and it's going to start getting harder and harder to find that Psychic energy that he's going to need.
Magnus has a couple of Float Stones in hand. Does he have the Garbodor? He has an Ultra Ball too. I just don't see an N or a way to get an N there unless he plays an Ultra Ball for Tapu Lele, for example.
Yep, and if you go for just N, I don't think it really makes too much of an impact. You see 2 different Pokemon that could draw him back up in hand size with that Oranguru and that Octillery.
You could go for the N and then kind of hope that your N provides you with the Garbodor.
Yeah.
If it does, then you're just in excellent shape. And if it doesn't, it could backfire really heavily as your opponent has Abyssal Hand available to him and you just don't.
Yeah, he's going to wait. I guess that there's just not a lot of item cards being played over on Magnus's side, so he's not in range of a knockout from Trash Lance.
Shrine of Punishment kind of messes with those numbers a little bit, as we know that by the end of the turn, Bayonet and Tapu Lele will be taking 10 damage between turns. Now, an N is going to shuffle both players' hands into their decks, and they're both going to be drawing 2 cards as they're both down to 2 prizes. This is really, really nerve-wracking, and I'm just watching the match. I can only imagine these players.
Yeah, Connor had the choice between N and Cynthia, chooses to disrupt his opponent as well. It just makes the most sense. He's got 2 different ways to draw back up in this situation, so still has pretty good odds to potentially hit one of those Psychic energies and get a pretty nice attack off. Found the Rainbow Energy.
Huge Rainbow Energy there. And he's potentially going to Abyssal Hand before playing the Rainbow Energy down.
Yep, found Strong Energy as well, so maybe if he has another attacker around, I don't see one though, maybe. I don't think he can ever attack with that Deancey. And Connor may just wait until the numbers start to align.
That would be a very interesting play. I can see why he would do that.
I don't know if he even has 3 potential energy for this Deancey, but you might as well put the energy down somewhere, and it can only go to those fighting Pokemon.
But at that point, you're really hoping your opponent doesn't disrupt your hand.
That's true. If Magnus were to draw into all the right cards, he could find himself in a bit of trouble.
Retreats the Octillery, promotes the Oranguru, and then just lets Shrine of Punishment do its job. Now, Magnus, only a 3-card hand. He does have a Sycamore in his hand, though, and a Trubbish to boot.
And a Float Stone.
With the Float Stone.
Those are 3 really good cards.
The Float Stone could go onto the Bayonet or the Trubbish that could evolve. I think it looks like he's choosing the Bayonet, and that means he's going to be drawing 7 new cards without discarding any. Is Magnus from his Sycamore, does he find what he needs?
Looks like he was able to find a counter stadium to that Shrine of Punishment, so going to stop this damage from coming down. That's
Kyle, how many items does he have in his discard pile, Kyle?
I'm never going to know. I'm sure many people want to know that as well.
And remember, because he played that Float Stone, I mean, of course, he had no real choice. It was that or discard it. If Connor finds a Field Blower, then that'll be 1 more item card in the discard pile for Magnus. All these numbers have to be running through their heads.
I think Connor took a look, and at least the last 4 cards are items in there. So maybe just at 4, but it's been a pretty long game.
All right. Oh, man. Very crucial stuff.
Off of the Parallel City, Connor decides to throw away that Trubbish. It was accumulating a little bit of damage. Safe bet there.
The number of damage that Magnus can deal should be, well, actually, you know what? Against that Oranguru, it's not even a guarantee that he has a knockout.
Yeah, I feel like he's probably capped the amount of damage for the supporters he needs for Shadow Chant.
Well, if he did, then he gets a knockout of the Oranguru, right?
Yeah, he can potentially hit all the way up to 130. Wow, look at this. We're going to see the Tomb on GX. It's basically the same GX as Decidueye for players who aren't familiar with Bayonet. You're going to get
those items back in your hand.
All these great cards back, and if the items were a problem, he can just grab them all.
Well, Tomb Hunt GX is one of those things that just cements your advantage against Trash Avalanche decks. Will it be enough? Once again, I do not have an exact count on the number of item cards in Magnus's discard pile, but it's whatever it was to start his turn, -3.
-2. He grabbed Guzma as well.
Oh, -2 then. Which means that he just doesn't fear it then.
Yeah, I think he's got the numbers lined up for himself here. With that Guzma, he would be able to remove the only true threat that Connor has in that Trash Avalanche Garbodor. And I think from that point, he's just soaring.
So here's another thing is with that Oranguru stuck in that active position, he's going to need to find a float stone as well.
I think it's the item counts 4. Yeah. So Magnus is at 4. So the Trash Avalanche would only be doing 110 damage after that choice band. So yeah, Magnus feels pretty safe.
Yeah, there's just no way you're going to get a victory right now if you're Connor, but at this point, do you just go for the damage onto the Bayonet and start to threaten a 2-hit knockout onto it? Because of that Parallel City getting rid of the Trubbish from Connor, it's much less threatening here.
He's trying to put it together. I don't know if he has another Shrine of Punishment to work into the equation. He tried to buy a little bit of time there with the Oranguru, but instead Magnus said, that's fine, I'll just grab Guzma and I'll take away your best attacker next turn.
The spoiler, by the way, is that he does not have another Shrine of Punishment available to him.
Uh-oh.
So that's going to be less damage that he has available to him for the remainder of this game. I'm just not finding that out here. Connor just kind of ran out of resources. And that's going to happen.
4 cards in hand, too, or in deck, rather. Looks like he's going pretty low.
Guzma brings up the Trubbish. Connor's basically saying, all right, I'm not going to be able to knock out this Bayonet very easily, but maybe I can get a couple of single prize knockouts. I can definitely take down this Trubbish, and then I'm down to 1. Maybe I can pull this off. And maybe he's right. If you still have a Buzzwole available to you with a Strong Energy.
Yeah, the last
Wow.
card, there's the Beast Energy. He has the Rescue Stretcher in hand, so potentially had an out to get enough damage down with a Buzzwole, perhaps, but...
All right, well, Magnus definitely wants to evolve that Trubbish right now, more than anything.
You can just see it on Connor's face. He can't put it together.
Yeah, it's just a very brutal prize that he took there. If he would have found the Beast Energy, he may have been able to pull something off there. That would have been 80 damage between the Diancie and the Beast Energy. But without it, all he can muster up is 70, and that's if he finds a Strong Energy. And look at the number of item cards in his discard pile. Quite a bit more than 4 there.
Sometimes you just play 18.
I don't even want to count the number of damage that Milan's from Trash Avalanche onto Weakness. All right, well, we do see that Magnus does evolve his Trubbish into the Garbodor. This is actually a Garbotoxin Garbodor, too, which could be important if he plays well, there it is. He does play a tool onto it. So now Garbotoxin is online, and it looks like Magnus is saying, good luck beating this setup. I'm just going to attack you, go down to 1 prize myself. Brooklet Hill replaces the Parallel City, which means at least we're going to be able to see a full bench out of Connor.
He's
but
got
is that
no
enough?
energy.
No energy, no anything. Beast energy off of the prizes shown to Magnus as Connor does scoop up his cards game 1, and Magnus Pedersen is up 1-0 against Connor Pedersen, 1 game away from becoming the 2018 Senior Division World Champion in the trading card game.
Yeah, I can't help but to think about the Oceania Internationals where these two players faced off, and it was really Connor all the way controlling the game with parallel cities and confusion, and it put Magnus on the back foot, and complete reversal here in the World Championships. Magnus controlled that game all the way, was able to use his GX move flawlessly and set up a perfect setup that Connor just really had no answer to.
Imagine the kind of bragging rights that you get if you beat your opponent for the World Championships after he beat you for Oceania Internationals. Like, if these guys know each other at all, which I'm sure they do since they obviously are the elite of the elite in the senior division. Connor's been able to hold this over him for like half a year. This is Magnus's opportunity to say, all right, anything you can do, I can do better.
You think you're the best player? You're not even the best player with this last name.
So definitely very important match here for both of these players. Even if we're just talking about bragging rights alone, forget about the Pikachu Trophy and, of course, the title of World Champion.
That's right. Only 15 players have been able to hold that title of Senior World Champion.
15 is right in front of us. One of these two players.
I'm skipping 40 minutes ahead.
They do have a time limit. They do only have 40 minutes remaining, which could be a factor, as that was a pretty long game 1.
Yeah, that's definitely something important to note here. I don't know if the amount of time actually helps or hinders Connor here. Maybe it's actually helpful because he was able to get off to the early prize lead. If he's able to win a long game 2 and play a quick game 3, we could see Connor pull this out even if it is a difficult matchup.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that whenever you're heavily disadvantaged in a matchup, usually the clock is your friend.
Yeah, so ask Jason Klasinski.
Yeah, that's my strategy. Well, not my strategy, but my theory is that if your matchup is poor, then the clock is your friend. If your matchup is good, then the clock is your enemy.
That's right. The more different scenarios that can help you out, use them.
Of course. Now, of course, Connor Pedersen is not out yet. He still has a puncher's chance in this matchup. He just has to find a way to win 2 games in a row as we see the players start to set up their prizes. A couple of supporters on the top, but nothing too awful here for him. And now, as far as...
Oh,
wow, okay. So as far as prizes are concerned, Magnus's prizes are very dangerous.
He plays a 2-2 Bayonet GX line.
And one of them are prized.
There's 2 shove it in there.
Two shove it are prized.
Yeah. So we're probably not going to see that.
Well, that is your advantage, right? But at the same time, Magnus does tend to take prizes as well.
Look at this.
Okay, so game started as right away Connor plays a strong energy and a choice band onto his red rock, benches a couple of the best Pokemon that he can bench on his first turn.
There's a Drampa on the other side.
Sycamore's away his hand, and of course is facing down a lone Drampa. Remember, Drampa, weak to fighting.
You couldn't pick a better start for Connor here. He has a Pokemon not weak to Psychic, facing off against the one Pokemon Magnus never wants to see in this matchup. And Magnus has prized 2 of his Shuppets. He can never get a Bayonet down this game.
Well, the Eternal Equalizer, weakness. As Magnus is now looking at his hand, he's got cards to work with. I just don't know how much he can work with them.
He's currently knocked out if Connor gets to attack.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're looking at 40, 60, 70, 80, 100, a lot.
Damage, yeah.
Knockout. Rawr.
Yeah, the reason that you play this Regirock is if you get the strong choice plus Diancie, you're actually able to knock out Zoroarks, but you don't even need the Diancie Prism Star to knock out a Drampa. You hit for 180 right off the bat with this combination.
Yeah. Diancie not needed for this turn 2 knockout from Connor. Will Magnus be able to prevent that at all? Or will he even try? Honestly, like at this point, it's just like, well, very unlucky start, but let's see what I can do to progress. And then as he's looking through his deck, you can see him just kind of like, really? Is this actually happening right now?
Okay, Jirachi, let's get there. Let's get rid of all his energies. Maybe we'll win that way. It worked last time.
If he doesn't find another energy, right?
Yeah. It's got Floatstone.
He almost, well, he does attach the Floatstone onto the Jirachi and not the Drampa.
Okay. Well, the Drampa does have a way to remove special energies as well. You can use Righteous Edge and attack into this Regirock. It means that Connor would have to find himself another strong energy or maybe that beast energy that eluded him in the first game.
He's going to get 6 new cards to do so before his turn even begins, as both of these players are going to be shuffling their hands back into their decks and drawing 6 new ones because of Magnus's supporter of choice here, which is an N. And Magnus still looking for plenty of cards.
Yeah, he needs to find his at least one Trubbish and an energy this turn if he wants to start to find a way out of this. This is a really difficult spot. Oh, my goodness.
What else does he attack with, though? Geez, this is just going to be a really rough spot here for Magnus, as Field Blower gets rid of the Choice Band as well. And because Drampa's Righteous Edge attack gets rid of the strong energy as well, because it's a special energy. Now, all of a sudden, Connor's turn 1 kind of just gets thrown away, and he's forced to find all these cards right over again. Otherwise, he will not get a knockout onto this Drampa.
It looks
Big
like
play here by Magnus.
He will be. He has one piece of the combination here with the Diancie Prism Star that he was able to draw into. Octillery's going to help him draw into some cards, and he even has an Ultra Ball to thin his hand out a little bit. If he wants to play a Rainbow Energy onto this Regirock, he certainly could. It would mean he's just one Choice Band away from taking the knockout if he's able to draw into that. Or he could start to look for that Beast Energy that could get him there, and maybe he could pull off the combination with a card like Floatstone.
He's got to find something, though, as he's going to be forced to Abyssal Hand for 3 cards.
He has a Professor Sycamore in hand, too, so curious to see
he
if
actually
to
might
Abyssal
be going
first. He's
okay.
going to.
I do not see a Choice Band there.
I drew into that special charge again.
Jeez, that special charge is just not what you want to be seeing on this on the second turn of the game. Rainbow Energy actually might get attached onto the benched Garbodor.
Yeah, he wants to. He's thinking about cashing in on this right now because it hurt him so much in the last game to have all of his special energies hitting the discard pile so early.
Might play Guzma onto the Jirachi, and because Garbodor can attack for a single Psychic Energy, he's going to be able to Trash Land here. Are there already three items in the discard pile? It looks like there are.
Yep, well, looks like he is able to take the knockout there with Trash Lanch.
So there is a Trash Lanch knockout onto the Jirachi. I guess when it comes to worst, at least he's able to salvage a prize out of this turn. But it was looking so good for Connor by the end of his first turn. Okay, not to say that Magnus is in great position, though.
Yeah, it needed to be 4, I believe. I think it has a resistance as well. So yeah, it was 4.
Okay, so looks like we have at least 4 items in the discard pile here for Magnus.
All right, that's a pretty important piece for Connor to remove. He doesn't have very many energies that aren't special, so he'd be in a lot of trouble if this Jirachi were to just start stardusting all over the place.
As bad as turn 1 looked for Magnus, I think Magnus is about as okay as you can be with this kind of a situation. It's still not a good one, obviously, but at least it's not your Drampa getting knocked out for almost no effort whatsoever out of Connor and still having no access to a Bayonet or anything like it. Now, Righteous Edge is, again, the attack of choice here for Magnus before he passes the turn over to Connor.
Connor was ready for this. He actually waited until the special energy would be removed here. Now he gets to get full use out of this special charge before doing anything aggressive like that Professor Sycamore that he was contemplating on the previous turn.
You see Connor playing it about as safe as you can, not overextending, not discarding his Sycamore, not discarding his hand to a Sycamore to try to find the Beast Energy or the Choice Band. He instead chooses to play safely, just plays a Guzma to take an easy prize and says, all right, now this is going to be the turn that I might go all in. Ooh. And he's debating it. Looks like he is. Professor Sycamore.
It's time.
I believe that's another item that goes into his discard pile, by the way.
Also chose to discard the Buzzwole. It looked like he was probably trying to find another Trubbish. as that is a pretty solid attacker in the matchup if he gets to evolve into another Trash Lanch Garbodor.
How much?
Connor looking through his options.
He found Shrine of Punishment.
Does he have a way to retreat this Garbodor?
I think he's going to try to protect this energy. He's really afraid of the Righteous Edge.
Yeah.
Playing protect the energy here is Connor.
My favorite
All right.
game.
3 damage counters now on that Regirock.
He has a Choice Band in hand, so he is set up to swing and take the knockout next turn. If Magnus does decide to get aggressive with a card like Double Colorless Energy, which was his top deck here, if he wants to go in with a Berserk and knock out this Drampa, or knock out this Garbotox, or Trash Lanch Garbodor, he certainly could.
Well said.
I got there.
All right, double colorless energy still in hand here for Magnus. He has not committed to the play quite yet.
Whoa.
He actually just scoops up his cards.
Okay, yeah. I actually really like this by Magnus. I've done this before in tournament too. You just say, oh, these prizes are not good for me. This hand is not getting me anywhere. I'm probably going to lose this game. I know that I can win a long game, and if I play a game against the clock, Connor's actually going to be favored. So give me 31 minutes. I think I'm going to be the world champion after that.
You know, I can respect that decision. Definitely not one to...
You get to go first.
Yeah, definitely not one to say, don't scoop, you know?
You get to play Shove It.
What if he would have Righteous Edged, or I'm sorry, just Berserked with the Drampa taking the prize, and it would have been a Shove It? Would that have changed things for him? He still has a Bayonet in hand, or in deck.
I think he would have always been a turn behind. If Connor took the knockout there, then the Shove It hits the board, and then you're just going to see Guzma's going after those Shove It's over and over, right? He would have the one Shove It. It would continually get knocked out. If it did find its way back with a card like Rescue Stretcher, Connor's always going to be targeting it. It just makes for a really awkward game where you're always behind, and Magnus would rather just play a long game and try to come out on top, which you have to think he's favored, and he knows this too.
I agree. I do think he's definitely favored in the matchup, and I do think that he's given himself more than enough time to finish a complete Game 3. At this point, I mean, the decision's been made, but I think that you can definitely also argue in favor of just playing another couple of turns out, seeing if your opponent maybe stumbles a little bit. I mean, it's not like he's got it all on board, right? He still has to draw into certain things.
Yep, that's true. And, I mean, Connor was showing that he was starting to get really far ahead, but it wasn't all the way there. There were a few pieces missing. You didn't see the Choice Band yet, but of course he did have a few ways to draw into things. He had Octillery, and he really hadn't gone through too much of his deck. He could certainly find those resources.
Either way, it's going to make for a very exciting Game 3, as Game 2 was basically about as shocking as you can get from the very beginning. As soon as we saw the prizes, we knew that Magnus was going to struggle. As soon as he looked through his deck, he knew he was going to struggle. And then as the game progressed in the few turns that we did get to see, we saw that just Connor was starting to press an advantage, and Magnus said, I don't want to take this anymore. I'd rather start Game 3 nice and fresh, go first, see what happens.
Magnus, there is nothing more nerve-wracking than deciding to give up on Game 2 and look at that opening hand Game 3. If you draw dead there, you're going to feel terrible.
A couple of Ultra Balls and a Cynthia here for Connor. Now Magnus has a 1-1 Trubbish line and a couple of Ultra Balls, but
no Shove It.
Yeah, I think he takes that.
Absolutely.
All right, game about to begin here for Magnus. Was it a smile of happiness or a smile of confusion? As I guess it's
a little
both. Yeah, as he just kind of plays an end with only 2 Pokemon in play and no energy or tools.
I'd be more scared if I'm Connor, honestly. He may have been looking at a really good hand, and now he's just Sudowoodo and a couple 6 new cards. Maybe they aren't too good. He's got to go through it all over again.
Well, at least Roadblock's online. So,
one huge benefit here.
Think positively, Kyle.
That's right.
All right, so 6 new cards for both of these players on this very first turn of Game 3. The winner of this game will win the match and be crowned the 2018 Senior Division World Champion. Will it be Magnus or will it be Connor? Right away, Magnus plays a couple of benched Pokemon and passes the turn. That is a great hand for him. And now Connor trying to match Magnus' setup and start to get some sort of aggression, take advantage of the fact that he gets to attack first. Plays the Brooklet Hill, looks through his deck.
Yep, he's got that Brooklet Hill now. He can start to find maybe an attacker if he wants to get that Regirock going. It is his favorite card to start with. The least amount of items that he can get down would be great to go in combination with this. It just means that this Regirock could stay on board for maybe 3 turns. And if he can get that much attack off with one Pokemon, he has to feel fantastic.
Absolutely. So now Connor does find that Regirock, the Pokemon of choice here for him. Very fortunate to not have to be prized, honestly, because otherwise his game plan, his early game plan would be much more vulnerable. But instead, just plays the Choice Band and plays the Cynthia. Still no items in his discard pile, which is a really big deal.
Yep. He's got that workable hand, though. He can see 6 more cards.
Wants to find a Floatstone, get that Sudowoodo out of that active position, and more importantly, also wants to start attacking. So he definitely wants to find himself a strong or a strong energy.
I see, looks like a multiple Rainbow Energy, the Deante, but I don't think his hand goes anywhere after that. Yeah, he actually drew into a pretty poor hand there.
Plays the Rainbow Energy onto the Regirock, but without a Floatstone, he's forced to pass with the Sudowoodo still in the active position.
It looks like Magnus's only supporter is the N. Let's see if he has a read on Connor's hand, though.
I don't know if you can have a read right now.
Yeah. It would be next level, absolutely, if we saw Magnus decide to go a different route here.
I mean, Connor would basically have to shout, no, in order for Magnus to really think that there's any sort of shot for him to hold on to this end, as his hand just isn't really doing anything.
Yeah, Magnus could go Mysterious Treasure, then Ultra Ball, drop the whole hand and go with a Tapu Lele. If he did that, went for Sycamore and just went all in, he would actually put himself in probably a world's winning scenario.
You know what's sick is he is actually debating this for about 10 seconds. He's still debating it.
Really doesn't
He
know.
really does have a little bit of a read, at least. You look at him, he's really struggling to do this. Decides to go for a Mysterious Treasure, so I do believe that, well, actually, he could go for a Tapu Lele right now.
Yeah, I think we may just see another Pokemon like a Trubbish or a Shuppet hitting the board and then followed by an N. But you never know.
I would lose my mind if he goes for the Lele right now.
That's right. Looks like he's actually going to eye up his main attacker there in that Bayonet GX. Get that online early. This avoids any weird scenario where Connor is to run into a Guzma and just take that Shuppet off of the board. So well done by Magnus to get that out quickly. But he did have to play that N, and Connor is over there going, woo!
Connor's heart has to be racing right now. Just bailed out by Magnus there, and obviously not exactly like Magnus had too much of a choice there.
Can't blame him.
Yeah, you just can't blame him there in that spot. But definitely, if Magnus would have had full knowledge of Connor's hand, he would have gone for a different play. And now Connor gets a new breath of life. Does he find a better hand? It seems very difficult for him not to. And now Magnus also gets to look at a new hand of 6.
Yeah, did not find a Floatstone, so is not going to be able to get an attack off this turn. Only has the Psychic Energy as well. But, I mean, he did play a double colorless energy on a Trubbish to start the turn, so it wasn't really going to do anything anyways.
That ever so threatening double colorless on a Trubbish.
Yeah, you can Acid Spray with that the Trash Lance Carboder.
Sure.
It's a play.
You can also Trash Lance for double the damage.
Yeah.
All right, now Connor plays the Strong Energy onto the Regirock. 2 energy on it now. Starting to get powerful.
Yeah, we are going to see Buzzwole coming down pretty early.
Brooklet Hill finds the Buzzwole. Guzma, your boy, brings up that Trubbish with the double colorless energy. He does not want to get Acid Sprayed this turn or this game.
That's right, and he is going to be able to take a knockout here. The Enhanced Stomp does 60. Does he have the answer?
80, yeah, he does have the answer, so it's 80 damage total.
Yep,
Brings
very
down
nice.
that Trubbish. Double colors goes down with it as Connor takes the first prize of this pivotal and ultimate Game 3. Bayonet, the active Pokemon now for Magnus. Rainbow Energy. 10 damage onto the Bayonet. But
Connor was thinking ahead. He just gave him one of his dice because he knows that damage is eventually going to go over to his side.
Okay, so Field Blower will get rid of the Stadium and the Choice Band off of the Red Rock. So that's more items in the discard pile for both of these players.
Look at how many supporters he can get into the discard pile this turn. He has 3.
Normally, you don't want to be discarding all these supporters, but when you're the Bayonet deck, you actually really do.
That's nice, yeah.
Yeah.
He can definitely get that Shadow Chant damage back up. There's so much to keep track of in this matchup. It makes it very difficult to commentate when you don't know how many items and how many supporters are down. But, well, we're going to try our best for sure.
We always do. We always fall a little bit short.
Hey, there's Drampa.
All right, so at least both players know that the pivotal Drampa is not prized. Now, Connor and Magnus. Such a tense game 3. You really have to believe that both of these players are feeling the pressure.
Yep. Connor does have his favorite Pokemon in this matchup active with a lot of ways to get some damage onto this Bayonet. He's got that strong energy, but he did lose his Choice Band after that Field Blower, so he is going to have to find a few more pieces, perhaps. Magnus, on the other hand, getting all those supporters down, so
7 new cards for Magnus off of that Sycamore. And almost as importantly, he does have quite a few supporters in the discard pile now, so it'll almost undoubtedly be a 2-hit knockout from Magnus onto that Red Rock. Remember, he has not Shady moved yet.
just showing that last turn was indeed a knockout.
Yeah, it was 90 damage.
It was 80.
80 damage, sorry.
Yeah.
All right, so now he is going to Shady move 20 onto the Red Rock.
Let's see how many supporters he has here. I think we see 5. Does he have a way to get more into the discard? I don't think so.
5 would put 80 damage onto the Red Rock, so that would put it at 100 damage total.
Yep, so there are 5. I'll try to keep track of that over here. I'm going to steal your pen.
All right. Good luck. And now Magnus does end his turn with Connor now trying to find an opening. Of course, the Bayonet does resist it, as we've seen in the previous game, but will Connor be able to set up a 2-hit knockout of his own? Of course, because the Shady move, it just becomes so annoying and so difficult to actually try to pull that off. I really do want to see if we can keep track of their items as we did last game, because it's just so pivotal.
We are going to see the Trashlands Garbodor going back into the deck with that Rescue Stretcher. Connor does have 3 of these Rescue Stretcher in his deck, but using these items can be costly sometimes if he is trying to avoid some knockouts.
Risk versus reward, right?
I think he's mainly worried about this Bayonet, though.
All right, that Beast Energy going to be played onto, of course, the Buzzwole, and that's just going to threaten a lot of damage for just a single energy. Already doing 80.
Nice that he did get to cash out on that Beast Energy, get it into play before he used Professor Sycamore. Unfortunately, is going to lose a Rainbow, so that might be one more attack that he potentially just can't reach with his Trashlands Garbodor.
So he's dealing 60 damage to the Bayonet right now. Actually, no, he's dealing 90 damage to the Bayonet right now.
And the Bayonet does have resistance. We have 40, 70, 90, back down to 70, I believe.
40,
60, 90. No, it's to 90.
90,
yep.
yeah.
Man, so much.
Every once in a while, I'm right.
Hey, good for you.
All right, so Magnus. No, well, actually, 90 damage is not bad. I think
Yeah.
because of that Shrine of Punishment in his hand, you definitely are okay with dealing 90 damage here. You're setting yourself up for a pretty, I wouldn't want to call it easy, but doable 2-hit knockout onto this Bayonet.
Yeah, it probably is going to have to involve another strong energy if the Regirock were to survive this turn, but I don't think it would. And also, Shady Move is going to start to move damage counters off of this Bayonet. So
if we see Magnus use Shady Move a couple of times onto the Regirock, then that could just be a backbreaking turn against Connor here.
yeah, we are going to see damage start to accumulate pretty quickly here.
Well, there's that other Bayonet, man.
Oh, on on that side.
Magnus does get the Bayonet into play. Regirock does have 120 hit points, so 2 shady moves would be able to knock out the Regirock before he even gets an attack off. Magnus is going to play the Parallel City first. Remove 1 Pokemon from Connor's side of the field. Yeah, he's going to move the damage here. Find a way to switch his Bayonets, and I think he's going to take this knockout first and then get to attack. It's going to be a pretty awesome swing turn for Magnus.
Yeah, just being able to knock out that Regirock without attacking is huge.
He gets the target down. He's got the Guzma.
Think about how much of a swing turn this is. Not only is he going to be able to do so much damage to Connor's board, but
he can knock out the Buzzwole.
Wow. Knocking out the Buzzwole would be huge here as it gets rid of every energy in play from Connor. And not only that, but he gets rid of damage counters from his Bayonet and gets rid of the Regirock in play.
Wow.
Masterful turn here out of Magnus.
And there it is. 3 energies are going to hit the discard. Well, I guess 2 if you count the Lost Zone. And we are going to see 2 huge attackers for Connor.
Look at Connor's board.
They're gone.
It's just Diancie and Trubbish.
Who do you promote? This is definitely a turn where Connor needs to cash in on Sledgehammer. He has a Floatstone in hand, so he can promote that Diancie. Maybe start to find that Buzzwole, but he's down so many resources. Bayonet has resistance, 190 hit points. He's down his beast energy. We've already seen at least 1 choice band hit the discard pile.
I was going to say, if he finds a Guzma, he can knock out the other Bayonet, but he's forced to actually Sycamore here. So doesn't even have access to Guzma right now. He's not going to be able to one-hit KO that Bayonet. It's just not possible. What does he do?
He has the strong and the choice. This plays right into a Tapu Cure if Magnus really wants to. He may just keep aggressive, though, honestly. Yeah, I think he has to remove this Buzzwole first, but then we could see interesting lines like that.
Yeah, well, you want to go down to 3 prizes, too. You want to
get rid of Sledgehammer.
Yeah, avoid the 120 damage Sledgehammers. But still, just a lot of damage on the Bayonets for Magnus, but Magnus's last turn was just so huge that I don't care how much damage you have on him, Magnus has to be feeling great.
That's right. Of course, he will potentially have 2 shady moves available here. So he could start to work some damage onto that Trubbish. If he does that for 4 turns, he can end up taking a knockout. Once again, without an attack like he did on that Regirock. Looks like he's going to start to work on the Diancie.
He's living the dream right now, is Magnus. Lots of options available to him. Looks like he only has 4 items in his discard pile as well, so doesn't have to fear the Trash Lanch Garbodor quite yet, with the exception of his active Bayonet, which is very heavily damaged. Double colors onto the Tapu Lele.
Just starting to find any other relevant attacker that he could.
Retreats the Bayonet, paying the Psychic Energy cost, and promotes the slightly undamaged Bayonet. And he still has another shady move available to him before he attacks and knocks out the Buzzwole. Connor kind of hoping he forgets. But no, Magnus way too good for that.
Yeah.
Of course, Diancie now 2 damage on it.
That is another prize card for Magnus. 3 prizes away now.
You see just how that weakness is playing such a pivotal role in this matchup. There's 70 damage on the Bayonet, which leaves it with 120 hit points, and because there's only 4 items in the discard pile, it's just too difficult for the Trash Lanch Garbodor to really pull off this knockout here. Just 10 hit points or 10 damage away is Magnus, or is Connor, even if he hits the choice band.
Yeah. For Magnus now, if he is holding on to another Rainbow Energy, he has to feel like he's in a pretty great spot if he is to be knocked out by the Trash Lanch Garbodor.
Shrine of Punishment, though, does mess with the numbers. Does he have a choice band on the Garbodor?
Yes, he does.
He does, so that's going to be a knockout on this Bayonet, man.
Yep, but there is Sledgehammer on the other side. There have been prizes taken, though, so yeah, he might actually...
That is huge. You see Connor start to get excited because that Shrine of Punishment was exactly what he needed. I feel like, I mean, the games start to blend together, but I feel like that might have been his last Shrine of Punishment, which is just very, very timely there. Needed that extra 10 damage, and the only way to get it was going to be through that Shrine. Of course, the Pokemon is not knocked out at the end of Connor's turn, but between turns because of that Shrine.
Yep, with the 2 prizes being taken off of the Bayonet, we completely skip over the Sledgehammer turn. Magnus is going to need to find another attacker in order to knock out this Trash Lance Garbodor. Believe he'll be able to set up a Trash Lance Garbodor of his own.
And look at all the damage on the only other Bayonet in play.
That is certainly getting scary here.
Kyle, has Connor turned this around?
He's getting really close.
So, of course, we saw how Connor...
His eyes are...
Yeah.
He's in it right now.
We saw how Connor was just down and out after that pivotal turn from Magnus, but Connor has a stronger turn of his own, kind of saying, I can pull this off too, Magnus, and I don't care how bad this matchup is, I'm still going to be in it. And Ultra Ball now, out of Magnus, is going to bring more items into the discard pile here for him. So now, Trash Lance Garbodor is becoming more and more threatening as the game comes along.
It's like Magnus is just trying to eye up the perfect way to play out the rest of this hand.
The non-GX attackers from Connor pulling their weight. We saw the damage start to stack up on these Bayonets. We wondered if it was going to be relevant or if they were going to be able to carry the weight. It looks like the timely Shrine of Punishment says that it's going to be way more difficult.
Oh, I like this. He Tapu Lele's grabs the N. He's got the Float Stone in hand. He can just attack with this Bayonet to take the knockout. And Connor's going to have 4 cards to come back with a board of Trubbish, Remoraid, Diancie.
I like it too. It's still a dangerous spot to be in because bringing your opponent down to a 3-card hand is, still gives them options with, gives them quite a few cards to draw into. But it's the best choice Magnus has right now, and he has to hope that this end just helps him out and does not do the same for Connor. Will Connor draw a good hand off of this 3-card end?
Yeah,
you see him cross his fingers.
He's hoping. He's down so many energies already. He found one energy, though.
Found an energy, but he does not have the Pokemon.
He has a Brooklet Hill. He has to counter his own Shrine of Punishment, though.
Okay. 160 damage on this Bayonet now. Diancie, the Pokemon of choice to become the active. Now, there's a Float Stone drawn by Connor, not what you want to see here.
Oh, this is so close. He's getting really relevant damage done with the Shrine of Punishment, but he can use his own Brooklet Hill if he has to. Is he going to have to Acid Spray?
I think so. I mean, what are you going to do? Find a Buzzwole? Bayonet resists it. You can't.
Yeah, you're doing the same amount of damage, well, I guess with the Diancie, but it's shut off by the Garbotoxin. Yeah.
Wait, don't have to.
There's an Acid Spray. Tails, though.
Tails on the flip. You're going to see this Bayonet surviving with just 10 hit points after the Shrine of Punishment.
If he does not counter the Shrine, though, then there's going to be lots of plays available still for Connor to pull off the game.
This is a turn where Magnus would love to use his GX attack.
Draws a Float Stone. Does he not have what he needs?
He could use Tapu Cure this turn.
Can he Tapu Cure, though? He does have the Rainbow, actually.
Absolutely. I think he's going to spot this. It looked like he set it up on the opening game, and he has to sense that there is no threat coming from Connor right now. This was the best attack he had. He used the Trubbish's Acid Spray.
Yeah, I mean, but you have to find the play. You have to find the play of your Magnus. It's not exactly what the first thing you think about when you wonder what attacks you're going to play this.
You're telling me that when you read Tapu Lele GX, and you didn't skip over Wonder Tag immediately? Because I did.
Tapu Cure, no wonder people play this card.
This is great.
Of course, plays the Trubbish before committing to anything. He does play the Rainbow Energy onto the Tapu Lele. Now, is that going to be a Tapu Cure? Is he going to flip over his GX marker, or is he flips the GX marker,
Wow.
gets rid of the damage on his Pokemon.
Very
About
nice play.
as strong a GX attack as we have seen this weekend, Kyle.
No one thinks of it, except Postway.
Unbelievable. Just Magnus finds the play, finds the spot, and Acid Spray, you're going to have to work a miracle here.
Maybe try to evolve.
There's 8 damage there's 8 items in Magnus's discard pile. So if Connor can find
his hand has
Boater.
nothing. He has the Brooklet Hill. He's going to have to counter his Shrine of Punishment. He's looking for a Pokemon to attack with. I think the only option he has is Buzzwole.
Does he have any Field Blowers left in his deck? I didn't get a chance to see.
His damage is capping at 30.
I think you try to save the Trubbish right now. You need that Rainbow Energy. Well, you have one in hand, actually, but you still try to save it. It's just a rough spot. This is not going to get the job done if you're Connor. Magnus draws his card. Magnus steal the game.
Has another Rainbow Energy in hand. That means he can use the Bayonet as an attacker once again. That is a knockout on the Buzzwole. And he puts himself in prime position here to be a world champion.
Magnus looking over his options. 80 damage on his Tapu Lele, of course, does not want to have it knocked out. Has the Cynthia as well, so Magnus clearly was the benefactor of that end from a couple of turns ago. Connor still struggling. We knew that a 3-card end could be very dangerous for Connor. That's exactly what happened. He just did not draw the options he needed. Was forced to Acid Spray, and Magnus found the play to counter that attack. And now Magnus potentially just a turn away from winning.
He's got himself a Trash Landscar Boater, another energy in hand. He looks like he has every resource he could possibly need to close out this match.
Bayonet promoted. Knockout on the Buzzwole, down to a prize remaining. Connor still 3 remaining. He draws his card
Oh
for
my
the turn.
god, he found Sycamore.
Sycamore finds him 7 new ones. Can he find a way out of this?
If he removes this energy, is there a potential out that Magnus just doesn't find another rainbow?
There could be. I think that's about as good as a chance as you're going to have, right?
I'm just trying to find it for him. I don't know what else Connor could really work on, what angle there is.
Remember, Magnus has drawn a fresh hand of his own because of that Cynthia. So Magnus has lots of options available to him.
Found a ton of strong energies, but the only benefactor there is a Deancey Prism Star.
Just not what you want to see off of that Sycamore.
He's got a Field Blower. You can get his abilities back online, but
okay, you get your abilities back online, you might have a shot at getting an Octillery's Abyssal Hand. I think I saw one in the deck. And it is there. He still has more draws available to him. He got rid of his own Brooklet Hill, potentially to play another Brooklet Hill. I'm not sure. Draws 2 cards. Does he find what he needs? He finds a Rescue Stretcher, Kyle.
all right, that
Rescue
means he
Stretcher
does have Trash Landscar Boater. He gets to take the
Down
knockout.
goes the Bayonet. 1 prize apiece for both of these players.
We've got double colorless.
Magnus finds the double colorless, and the Guzma gets the final knockout. Magnus is your world champion in the senior division.